Good morning. We're finally getting back to that red American Telecaster to finish up the nut job on it. So I've got it behind there on the back bench, and yeah, all we got left to do, I believe, is just a little bit of filing on the nut, drop the strings to the right height, and then going to check the intonation, and hopefully it probably hasn't changed, but we'll have to check it to make sure. And I think the height is okay. So I'm going to take the cam up to the Skycam view, and we're going to watch a little bit of the nut filing. So stay tuned. Over and out. Bye. Well, hopefully you can see this okay. So as you recall, what we're looking at doing is just getting the proper string height across here. And that's basically all. I've have the new nut in installed. So you know what? I've never tried these before, but I ordered a small set of round files. And I don't know if these are going to work or not for the purposes of what I want to do here, but I'm going to give these a shot and see how they do work. And the reason that I'm doing that is these guys here cost around $15 to $18. And every good set of fret files that I've seen that have rounded bottoms on them, they're in like the $60, $70 per file. And I know you can get a set of them at some of the outlets for like $250, $300. But to me, that's an awful lot of money just to file a little bone or a little tusk nut. So I'm going to try these guys out just to see what happens. And if I have to go and spend $200 or $300 on a set of high-end fret files from some other country, then that's what I'm going to do. But we're going to give this a shot first. So let's see what happens here. I'm going to take off tension off this first string here, and I'm just going to drop the string out of the way because this one has to come down a little bit. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take this and seat that in there. It's a little too big, and they got the sizes, I believe, for just about every string going. So there we go. We're going to do a little bit of filing just like that, and we're going to drop that back in just to see. You know what, that seemed to fall pretty good, to tell you the truth. So I don't know. We're going to find out in a minute. Yeah, I dropped it all right. Still a little high, of course, but not much. So I'm going to drop it just a tad more. So this is where the trial and error comes in, eh guys? You've seen me go through this before on other jobs. And keep in mind, you're doing an angle down to the top of the nut here on this. So I took some more off. Let's go in there and see what happened. You know what? That darn thing works pretty good, to tell you the honest truth. So let's go to the next one. I'm going to drop the next one down. Just unloosen it, get it out of the way. And here's where we just got to make sure that we get the right size here. Because what we don't want to do is we don't want a sloppy hole here either. So you have to make sure. Better to go too small and have to enlarge the slot a little bit, I'm thinking, than actually go too big. So that's kind of where I'm heading on this episode here to see. So if it fits in there, that one seems to fit. That still to me looks to be a little too big. So I'm just going to drop that down a little bit more. That sure looks like about the right size. So let's just go down here. And again, we're putting that break angle in. It certainly works. Put it up to put a bit of tension on it again. See what happens here. Yeah, it does work. Still got to go down a little bit. This is kind of where, when you're dropping a nut quite a bit, like I'm doing, sometimes you might want to take a saw and clean it out first on the break angle, and then use this guy to make sure you round it out correctly. Put the string back in, put some tension on it. Let's see what we got here. It seems to work pretty good, that combination. She's still high. Like I say, this is the part that sometimes can be a pain, because what you have to make sure that you do when you're doing this is you want to make sure that you don't take too much off. So I'm taking that and then I'm rounding it out with this. If you follow the process I'm using here. That's the attack I'm planned on making with this thing. That's getting real close now. Yeah. It's dropped it quite a bit. A little bit more though. Just a tad. Take it down a little bit. Again, I'm going to take it down with a saw, with a break angle. Use this little file to make sure you got a rounded bottom on it with that break angle. Put the string back in again. Where are we now, guys? Where are we now? We're in pretty good shape, I think. So you see the process. I'm not going to videotape this whole thing. I'm just going to keep going across this top of this whole nut. Basically, if I have to drop it a lot, I'm going to use the saw first, and then I'm going to use the file. And if it's just a little touch, I'm just going to use the file. But as you can see, it's an off and on, test as you go process. I'm not going to videotape it all. I'll bring the video back online when I'm all done. Over and out. Well, good morning again. I hope you can see this okay. I'm going to try to show you basically after this nut has been filed and these strings dropped. I'm going to kind of give you kind of how I measure it, if you will. And the one thing you might have seen in other videos is what I ended up doing is I put a capo right across the second fret, making sure the capo's on the top, not on this side of it, pushing the strings down. And the goal, of course, in that case is to hold the string down right here on right on the top, right at the break point of the second fret, and then see how much distance there is, absolute distance between the top of the fret and the bottom of each string along here. And anyways, after I've done that and I've got it within tolerance, then what I end up doing is I end up doing a little fine filing, very, very slowly, a little bit at a time. And I'm going to show you, this one is done to my satisfaction. And my final test on all of this is if I take my finger and I hold down right in the middle of that second fret, right there, and I look at how much distance I've got between the top of the fret and the bottom of this string, it is just a little wee tiny bit of play there. I'm not sure exactly how much it is, but it's just if I touch it, just touch it, that string hits that first fret. So it's just above it. And I go along and I do that for every string, all the way along, until I get it just the way I like it as far as the feel goes. So like I say, you can do all the measurements you want in the world, but after I've done the the filing, like I say, I usually drop this to about 8 1/1000ths of an inch clearance. That's kind of my starting off point, and then I pull each string off one at a time and I file. until I get it to exactly where you see it right now, where if I hold that point down right there, there's just so, if I touch the string ever so slightly, it touches the top of that first fret. And that's my final measurement, if you will, which is a measurement by feel. It's that simple. So I'm going to take this cam off, and I'm going to show you the top of this now, kind of on a view looking down from top, so you can see what it looks like. So just hold on, I'll be right back. So here we're just going in for a final shot, so you can see what this filing looks like when it's all done. And if you kind of take a look from it down here, you can kind of see where those strings have been, each string has been dropped down across. Of course, following the relief, not the relief, the radius, if you will, of the neck and the frets. So that's kind of what it looks like. The other thing you have to be careful of, like I say, as I mentioned many times, if you go down to the side here and take a side view, when you're doing this this filing here, you want the file or the angle to be like a ramp, so it goes down on a slight angle, so it hits basically where the string is going to hit the top of this tuning peg here, right where the string is. So each one has to be filed like that on that particular angle. And other than that, there's not much else I can tell you about setting the nut up. And if you're wondering why this nut looks like, you know, say, well, how come? If you look closely at the nut, you can see these little marks in it. This is a real bone nut. So actually, those little marks, that's not a dirty nut. If you sand and sand, those little imperfections, that you know, the pure whiteness isn't pure white all the way through that bone nut. So if you're wondering why those little marks are there, that's right in the bone itself. It's got nothing to do with cleaning the nut or properly filing the nut. It's just the way it is. So with that, I think we're pretty well done. Oh, I forgot one thing. That little guy should be underneath that little holder there for that string. And a little string tree you can see. And a couple little rollers. And of course, that's to make sure you've got an angle, a break angle on the strings here, because these strings go so far up. The other thing you'll notice too is that if you look on the side view here, you'll notice that these three tuners have a higher stem than these three tuners. Okay, they're called staggered tuners. And the reason they do that is of course to keep the break angle as, you know, kind of as close as possible. Sometimes you'll actually see tuners that, in this case here, there's three that are this height, and there's three that are this. These three are exactly the same height. These three are exactly the same height. Sometimes you'll see tuners where they're staggered more than that. That you might get, for example, you know, different heights for all the tuners, or you could get these tall, these medium, and these short. So in this case here, it's 3 and 3, 3 tall, 3 short. But again, that's to help that break angle and that ramp down to the top of the peg that we're talking about. So I guess at this point, I think this guy is a done deal. I'll put her up to string it up to tension, get it tuned, and we're going to see how she plays. But I'm sure it's going to play. I think it's going to be great. So if I have time to do another little video just on the sound of this, I'll tack that to the back. So y'all have a good day. Over and out from Pete. Bye. Well, we have the red Telecaster pretty well done. So I'll just bring it out and let you take a look at it here. Let me string it up here, get it on here. There we go. I've got it plugged into 1968 reissue of Verbalux, which is my 35 watt tube amp. And I'm plugged into the vintage side of it, the right panel. And I've got my volume set at 4, treble set at 4. Take a look here. Bass at 4, Reverb is set at 2, so just a little bit of reverb on it. So let's see what she sounds like. She's all set up to go here. And I'm on the neck pickup right now. Go to both pickups. So I got the switch in the center spot here. I'll move it to the bridge pickup. Have the tone control set on bypass. So just so you know, this telly got your volume control knob and you got your tone control knob, but there's just a little wee, I don't know what you call it, like a little not really a click, but you can feel it move into place. So what happens is when I've got my tone control here, my tone is control is in effect as far as the pot's concerned. But when I turn it all the way clockwise right to this, and you can almost feel it move into position here, like that. It's not really a click, but you can feel it move in. What that does is that bypasses this pot completely, so there's no tone whatsoever, no pot involved, and you're going right from your pickups right into clean right into the amp. So that's the way I'm playing it right now. I'm gonna go back to my my neck pickup here. So I think the work done on this, she really plays nice. Really nice feel to it. The action is just superb. The sound pushing through this Verbal Lux is excellent. And this one's going to be a real pleasure to play. So I hope you enjoyed the video on what was done on that and all the fun on this nut, and hopefully the explanation on how important that nut is. So until next time, we'll see you all around, and stay tuned for my next video coming up. Bye-bye now.